Hello, everybody. This is Sunny Fahouri, aka Darth Caboose here, and I am back with campaign number 2 of our Let's Play Labyrinth: The War on Terror, 2001 to question mark. I have set up our campaign, so this is going to be the introductory video for the second campaign. And it is going to be the last scenario given in the base game of Labyrinth. And this scenario is called Mission Accomplished, which describes the political situation of the Middle East from post-Operation Iraqi Freedom, which is from 2003 to, well, whenever this game concludes. So we'll still be using the exact same victory conditions as used in typical games of Labyrinth. However, this is a solo game, so if you remember from my first campaign introductory video, there were 3 ways for the game to possibly end. But before I cover those, just a quick introduction of the game for those who have not yet seen this, or maybe who are starting watching my series from this video. Labyrinth is a war game developed by GMT Games, whose main game designer is Volko Ruhnke. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Which simulates the war on terror. The struggle between the United States and the embodiment of the Islamic Jihadist movement. And this is primarily a card-driven game. So there are cards that will go into each player's hand, and those cards will be played either for events or for basic actions that each player can use. So the first scenario I played was Let's Roll. This one, however, will be a new one, which I mentioned just now, was Mission Accomplished. And we'll take a look at the board here in a second, but first, just a quick reminder of the victory conditions involved, which can be seen at the bottom right of the map here. The game ends when total number of country resources go to good are 12, or to Islamist rule are 6. So that's the resource victory condition ending. The other one is general governance. If a total of 15 countries go to poor or Islamist rule, then and prestige nukes down to 1, then the Jihadists win. Otherwise, if 15 of the 18 Muslim countries go to fair or good, then the U.S. player wins. And the last type is the knockout punch victory condition, which the U.S. cannot achieve for a solo game. But if the Jihadists are able to get their hands on a WMD and plant it in the United States that successfully goes off, then they win the game instead. This is a much more difficult scenario, and for the United States, because the game starts out with a number of regime change countries already in effect, and the United States' prestige is at a very low number, so they have to contend with the consequences of that and try to, as I like to put it, try to put out multiple fires at once. So this will be a much more challenging game for us because in a solo game, the player takes on the role of the United States, and the Jihadist player, the other player, is controlled by a series of flowcharts, as essentially a bot. So, okay, let's look at the map a little bit more. You can see here that unlike the Let's Roll scenario, there are a couple of differences here. First of all, there are, for the start of the game, a couple of cards have been removed from the deck. If you click on the card section up here, you can see that there are some cards that have already been removed from play, a total of 6 cards, and that is Abu Sayyaf, KSM, Nest, Tora Bora, the Patriot Act, and Iraqi WMD. So it's essentially considered for these events to already be in place, and we can actually see the Patriot Act's in effect. Its effect is the United States is considered not adjacent to any country except Canada, so the Jihadists have to fly to the U.S. or they have to move through Canada to get there. Also, Nest is in effect, so any WMDs that are planted, the United States will be able to see them and alert them appropriately. Abu Sayyaf is also in effect, which, if you remember from the first campaign game, was a very nasty event that would cause the U.S. to lose prestige if plots were placed there, so something we'll have to keep in mind. But that's the cards for just the general countries in the Middle East. You can see here that Libya is still a poor adversary. Syria is a fair adversary, has a cell though. But Iraq and Afghanistan are countries that are currently undergoing what's known as regime change. Now, this is a mechanic we haven't yet seen from the first campaign video, but a regime change country is a country that the United States has decided, you know what, this Islamist rule regime cannot be allowed to stand. We must attempt to bring good democracy or good governance to them. And it indicates a commitment of resources to that region. We'll talk about the gameplay mechanics of that later, but you can see that having two of these is dicey because there's already a bunch of troops on the board. They can't leave easily. And in fact, if we look at our troops track at the top right here, we see that there are no troops available. They're all deployed in Iraq or Afghanistan. There's a few in the Gulf states and in the Philippines too to counteract Abu Sayyaf. So this is a very dicey scenario. How will it go? Will we be able to solve the problems of this very tricky time, or will we ultimately fall under the influences of the jihadist player? So for this game, this is going to be a 3-deck game yet again. I do not expect it to complete quickly, though, because this is going to be I would say a very long game. To add to the difficulty, even though this scenario is difficult enough, I am going to be playing on a higher difficulty level. And I'm going to say the word difficulty one more time just to be amusing. Okay, so if you consult the player aid, there is a section called Jihadist Ideology. And I think there's a tractor going on, so I'm going to go and close my window here. There we go. So there is a section called Jihadist Ideology, which allows you to play the game on a higher difficulty level. And the level of difficulty I'm going to be playing on is going to be called Potent. And Potent does the following things. Whenever the jihadists successfully plot in a place, that is, use the plot operation to place plots, they will place 2 rather than a single plot. So that just makes more plots appear, which is difficult for the US to deal with. Additionally, whenever the jihadists successfully recruit, this is called attractive, they will place 2 cells instead of 1 cell. So again, making things more difficult for the US. And finally, by far, what I would consider is the most dangerous of the ideology difficulty settings is Potent. And Potent says the jihadists are able to conduct a major jihad if the cells minus troops is greater than or equal to 3. Yeah. So instead of needing 5 cells to conduct a major jihad, they only need 3. And that's going to be very significant because if you remember from the first campaign video, a lot of the conditional text for evaluating where to send cells has to do with can a major jihad be possible if some condition is met. And if you only set it to be 3 as opposed to 5, it makes a lot of these conditions more possible. So we're going to be paying very close attention to that there. Will this difficulty setting ultimately break us? Or will we be able to persevere and have a bit of good luck go our way? We don't know. We'll have to see when we start the campaign in the next video with turn 1. Now, before I begin, I would like to read the scenario text that comes with this mission accomplished scenario. And here we go. It is mid-2003. The United States has gambled on preemptive war in Iraq in hopes of forging democracy in the heart of the Muslim world. But U.S. overstretch, European doubts, and Iraqi resistance offer the jihadists an opening. And so that will be the conclusion of that. There are some extra things we need to do at the start of this map, but we will do that in the next video, the first video there. We'll also deal out the opening cards at that time. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this campaign, and we will begin shortly. Thank you all for watching.